Hello and thank you for joining our Adobe webinar this morning. So we have Luke Kiernan here from Bytes and Matthew Eccles from Adobe who will be going through the webinar with you.
Okay, so I'm Matthew Eccles. I work in Adobe's education team. I'm responsible for the licensing programs for the UK and Ireland, and we support the schools, colleges, universities and not-for-profit sector for Adobe. And I just want to start first of all with the agenda because I noticed from the attendees that we've got all three of those segments covered on the webinar this morning. So I will start with the VIP program, which is suitable for all of you. So schools, colleges, universities and charities can sign up to that VIP program. The second session will be on the Education Enterprise Agreement, which is a schools-only program. So at that point, if you're from the higher and further education sector or not-for-profit, you can tune out and come back in and join us for the latter session on deployment of the new applications, which is relevant to everybody. So we've got quite a broad spectrum of topics to cover this morning, and I'll do my best to sort of preempt some questions and answer them during the presentation, but you've got the chat box open there should you want to ask anything of Luke during the presentation. So thanks to Bytes for setting up this session for me this morning. Bytes, one of our key platinum partners and education specialised resellers. Appreciate that. It's a lot of effort putting these sessions together, so thank you to you. And as they are experts in the Adobe education programs, if you've got any questions, absolutely reach out to Luke and he can help you with those inquiries. So thank you for that this morning. So I'll start with some news, an update for you. The first thing to say is the CLP program, which many of you are familiar with, the Cumulative Licensing Program, is still available, and there are still options under that program to buy what was Creative Suite 6 and all the creative applications that we announced 2 years ago are still available for education and charities to purchase under CLP. It has gone away for commercial and government customers, and it will go away for the education market, for charities, for schools in the not too distant future, although I can't give you an end of life date for that. So there is still a CLP program available for you at the moment. If you prefer perpetual software, if you're happy with the older versions, then that is still an option going forward. So that's the first piece of news. The second bit of news, last week in New York, Adobe announced a huge amount of updates to the 14 major Creative Cloud applications, which we're now calling Creative Cloud 2014. All those are available to download, so if any of you are on Creative Cloud at the moment, you'll be able to see all those updates in your Creative Cloud account, ready to download the new features. One of the exciting things about last week was the announcement of some new hardware as well. So the first time Adobe's launched any hardware, and this is only available at the moment online through adobe.com. It's a piece of hardware developed by a company called Adobe, and it's a pen and ruler optimized for the tablet platforms. So Ink and Slide is the official name of these two pieces of hardware. Are available only online at the moment, but very important for those students or members of your organization that use the drawing applications in particular. So big pieces of news last week, and I'll touch on some more of the announcements later on, such as the iPad touch apps, free to use apps that we announced last week as well. So that's the news this morning as of 10:36. So let me start with just reflecting on last year and some of the requirements we saw as the education and charities team here at Adobe, some of the things that customers were asking us for. Really the requirements from our customers fall into three distinct areas. So we were asked to provide licensing for small work groups, departments, individuals. This might be a member of staff that uses a particular type of Adobe technology for a particular task. We also got asked for licensing in a shared computing environment. So this might be an IT suite or laboratory in a school, college or university, or it might be a pool of shared computers within a charity where multiple users are using one device or a particular application on one device. So that's shared computing environment. And then finally we got institutions and charities approaching us about very broad use of Adobe technology, so licensing the entire campus or the entire charity, where all the members of staff, all the employees, all the students may want access to particular Adobe technologies, or where you've got an environment that you need the applications installed on every machine across all the satellite offices or campus buildings. And these three requirements dovetail nicely into the new VIP Creative Cloud for Education programs, in that we've got a named user option here on the left, we've got a device-based licensing here in the middle, and both of those sit under Creative Cloud for Education. So named users and devices under the VIP program, Creative Cloud for Education. We've then got a separate program for entire institutions, and if you're from the school sector, we've got something very similar to some other vendors' campus-wide agreements, in that we have the EEA, which allows you to license the entire school based on the full-time employee count, staff and teachers. So that's the Education Enterprise Agreement. So rather than license a number of devices or a set number of named users, it can often be more cost-effective for a school just to license the entire school site based on the number of staff you've got. Not too dissimilar to some other vendors' programs. So we've got the EEA under the entire institution bracket, and then for higher further education and charities, if you've got a wide, broad use of Adobe technology, you're looking for site-wide cover, we've also got the Enterprise Term License Agreement program. So if you're unsure about which areas you might fit in or your requirement works, it might be that you straddle one or two of these programs. Then reach out to Bytes, speak to Luke, he can give you some advice on how this would work for you. But there's really three very simple programs for us in this market: named users, devices, and FTEs. So back on the 1st of May, which feels like a very long time ago now, we made the official announcement of the launch of something called Creative Cloud for Education. And this program is suitable for schools, colleges, universities, and not-for-profit entities. And it allows institutions and charities to either sign up named users or devices, or both. So you can mix and match your named user licensing and your device-based licensing. The difference between the two, I'll come on to shortly. But if you're familiar with Adobe programs and you've been using Creative Cloud, then the named user license model is nothing new. That used to be called Creative Cloud for Teams, and you may have well bought that in the past. So it's a named user license. Each user is given an Adobe ID. Once they accept the invitation, they'll download the applications locally to their own device, and they'll sign in with their Adobe ID to activate those applications. Named user licensing comes with a complete set of cloud services. So online storage, it comes with online tools, and it gives you that ability to sync to your tablet applications and collaborate using our cloud services. So named user license is very much for individuals that want that cloud functionality. What's new, however, is that's not always, the named user license isn't always a requirement, particularly in the schools marketplace or in very cost-sensitive markets where you just want the technology. You don't need the storage, you don't need the online services or online technologies, and therefore we do have a non-cloud offering, if you like. So the device-based licensing comes without cloud services, and that's the key distinction between the two. So you can license both under one VIP agreement. However, the distinction between them is that named user licenses comes with the cloud and device does not come with the cloud. So there's no Adobe ID requirement on the device-based licensing. It does call home, it does need to be connected to the internet, as we will validate the license within a 90-day window, but you're not accessing the storage or cloud platform under the device-based program. So that was the new announcement under the VIP program, and of course you can buy the single apps or the complete set of applications, and I'll share those with you in a second. For schools, we announced the new EEA version 1.5, and the big news around that was we've got a lower entry point for individual schools now. So the number of FTEs you need to qualify for Tier 2 has changed, and that brings the cost down for most high schools in the UK, and we'll go into that in more detail in a second. The EEA is very similar to the device-based program in that that does not include cloud services either. So this is really around data protection and the age of the students and sharing files on the cloud platform. So we've taken that functionality away for now. You just get the latest versions of the Creative Cloud apps to distribute to your network, and you don't need Adobe IDs to sign in, or you don't need to share any information with Adobe. So this is sort of a cloud-free platform for schools for now. So just to summarize, with the new programs, the great thing about working in the education and charity sector is you have quite a broad choice. So you can choose to take the creative apps and the latest versions, and they'll update automatically with new features, and you can choose to push those updates out when it's applicable. But you can choose to take the apps without the cloud or with the cloud. And I'll show you the differences between the two so you can sort of pinpoint which users you think will fit the cloud model and which won't. So if you're in an environment where you just use Photoshop and you don't need any of the online tools, you could license that in a lab environment or on a number of shared computers, and that would be quite a low cost compared to the named user version, which would give you all the online storage and tools. I'll talk about that more in a second. So the choice is yours. This is the lineup of the single applications. I just need to call out a few things about the tools that are only available as named user licenses. So the first thing to say is Adobe Muse and the Edge tools and services over here on the right. They require named user licensing at the moment. You need an Adobe ID to activate Muse and a program called Edge Inspect. So named user only at the moment. A little caveat there, they are in engineering and we'll fix those so they'll be available for devices soon. We don't currently have a single app version of Acrobat 11. Acrobat 11 is still available under CLP, of course. It's the latest version. It does come though as part of a complete collection of apps. So if you order the complete suite, you get all of this technology, including Acrobat. And the second app that isn't available as a single app is Photoshop Lightroom. Again, that comes as part of the complete subscription, but it's not available yet as a single application. So you've really got a choice. You can license single apps or a complete set of apps. If you license complete, you'll get Acrobat and Lightroom in addition to your other applications there. Okay. So these are the kinds of online services that you get with the named user licensing. Some of these services are charged in addition to your subscription, but these are the kinds of programs, applications and services that you may get asked for if you've got a marketing department or a web team. This is where we see the best fit for that named user license. So if you've got an individual within the charity that's responsible for communications and they're putting together interactive newsletter for a tablet platform, they'll want full Creative Cloud named user license access to get the likes of DPS and the web fonts, for example. Also, if you've got individuals in the web team that are responsible for developing the website, building applications for the phone platforms, then again they are more likely to want that named user license. Here's a brief summary of the difference between the two. I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but I just want to make sure you're clear on the difference between a device and a named user license. So obviously one of the benefits of that device-based licensing is because you don't need the Adobe ID, you don't have to, you can put that on a device and a number of users can use that software. So it fits nicely into both education and charities, and also you've got a very easy option in terms of named user where you've got staff that want to work at home. You can license them as a named user and they can use that on their personal machine at home and again on your internal systems. So advantages and disadvantages to both programs. So how do we price this? How does VIP work? So the VIP agreements are 12-month subscription programs, and Luke can send you an invitation, and once you've accepted that and you've ordered your first piece of software from us, that program starts to activate and you have a 12-month subscription starting from that point. If you have an existing CLP agreement, I'm going to talk a little bit about an offer in a second, but that will pre-qualify you for a higher discount. It's an offer that's available until November 30th, but the great news there is if you've got a CLP2 agreement, you can access VIP at Tier 3, and if you've got a CLP3 agreement, you can access VIP at Tier 4. So you keep your existing CLP in place. You don't have to cancel that. That can run alongside your VIP agreement. But my catchphrase has always been VIP is the new CLP. So if you're familiar with CLP, more and more you'll be migrating your Adobe tools onto VIP and onto subscription as we leave the perpetual software behind us. So there's 4 discount tiers. If you don't have a CLP agreement, then the size of your order, the transaction size of your order, determines the discount you get. So Luke will advise you on that when you get quotes from Luke. If you're ordering 50 units, you get Tier 2. If you come back next week and order 2, you'll get Tier 1. So it's a sliding scale depending on the size of your order. And here is some estimated street pricing for you. And there's 3 things to say about this slide, so I'll let you digest that a second. In red you've got the annual cost, so 12-month cost, and in bold you've got the annual monthly cost. These are all ex-VAT, and these are estimated street prices. So Luke can give you accurate pricing using the platinum status and discount. I'm sure it can improve on some of these prices for you. The 3 things I wanted to say, first of all, is the difference in the pricing between those 4 discount tiers. So there's almost a 50% saving for customers at Tier 4 versus those at Tier 1. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that because there are opportunities for you as schools, colleges, charities to leverage frameworks to try and access those better discounts for this promotional period. The second thing is the difference in cost between a named user and a device-based license. So as you can see, a device-based license is much cheaper, and that's because it doesn't have those cloud services, the storage and so forth. So bear that in mind. It might be that traditionally you've bought Creative Cloud for Teams and named user licenses. Now you have got that option for device where it might lower your cost of licensing to license it that way. The other thing I wanted to say was that if you order more than 2 single applications, it's sort of more cost effective just to order the complete set. So there is a break point of 2 apps where actually it does become more cost effective just to license the complete suite. So those are the three things I wanted to say about the slide. For those of you from the schools market, and there's quite a few of you on the call, the thing to consider with this program is how many devices do we need to license in that IT suite within the school. Because when you get to 20, 25, 30 machines, or when you get multiple applications, the subscription can very quickly reach £3,000–4,000 per annum for a school. And it might be cheaper to license the whole school under the EEA. So keep that in the back of your mind. We'll come on to that when we do the EEA in a second. Some schools only license a couple of our products in one lab, so this is perfect for you. Others, because of the broad use of our tools in the curriculum, the EEA may be more cost effective. So we'll come on to questions and pricing later on, I guess. How are we doing for time? We're not doing too badly. CLP migration offer. So I mentioned earlier that your VIP discount can be determined by your existing CLP. If you've had a CLP agreement in the last 12 months, or if you're unsure, check with Luke, but that will also qualify you for this offer. If you've got an existing VIP agreement, you need to sign a new one, unless you signed a VIP after the 28th of April. So again, check with Luke to see whether you need to sign a new VIP agreement. The reason for that is there's a different set of terms and conditions for device-based licensing. If you have an existing VIP agreement, our advice is just to leave that, let that expire, and then migrate your seats across to your new agreement when you're ready to do that. So very important that you check with Luke what your CLP status is, what your VIP status is, you know, what discount do we actually qualify, can we access this offer. We do have some frameworks within the education and charities sector, and if you go through Luke, we can advise you how you might be able to best access those to get down to that VIP level 4 for your first 12 months. One of the advantages of a VIP agreement is that they are prorated as well. So the reason I shared with you the monthly cost is that you can, during your subscription, add additional users and devices. So if somebody wants to add a unit to your agreement halfway through, they can do that, and they'll only pay 6 months subscription. So anyone can join your VIP agreement at any point during the year, but everybody would co-term at the same time, and everyone would need to renew at the same time. So one of the questions you're likely to have in your mind is, great, we've got potentially access to a 50% discount if we sign up to VIP before November, but what happens in 12 months' time when that expires? So the answer at the moment is we will look at your history on your VIP agreement, and we'll count up the number of seats and users you've ordered, and then we'll go back to that VIP tiering program and determine which level you'll be accessing the products at. So if during your 12-month period at level 4 you've only ordered 50 machines or 50 users and machines, there's a risk you may go down to VIP level 2 in 12 months' time. We are working at the moment on programs for next year and for the spring of 2015, where we're trying to look at ways of protecting customers on that offer. So nothing's decided, nothing's set in stone. Just be aware of the risk factor here, which is that this may only be a 12-month offer and the price may increase at the end of your first year on VIP. I know there'll be lots of questions about this, but start with Luke, find out your CLP status, what you can access, how you can get to VIP 4, and we'll help you hopefully access those discounts. So just to recap, if you've got an existing VIP agreement and you sign that before the 28th of April, you will need to re-sign a new VIP program. And that brings to a close the Creative Cloud for Education and VIP solution. I'm going to come back to deployment at the end. But in the meantime, we'll start with the schools. So if you're from the charities, FE and HE sector, you can grab a cup of tea for 10 minutes, or you're more than welcome to follow along. But this is really a schools-only program. So what I mentioned earlier was there is a break-even point for schools on VIP where it might be cheaper to license the whole school. One of the strategies that Adobe has got in the what we call the K-12 sector is to try and drive active use of the software for all students within this market. So try and create the creatives of the future. And to do that, we try to really bring down the cost of the program for schools and try and drive it into primary and secondary schools with a lower price point. So we made some changes to the original EEA. Now it includes the complete set of Adobe's Creative Cloud applications. So no cloud services, but the complete set of those tools I shared with you a second ago. And it allows you to deploy the software to an unlimited number of machines across the school campus, as long as the school owns or leases those devices. So you can't put it on student machines or student-owned devices. And that also gives you the option to add bundles on top of your subscription for tools like Captivate and Presenter, so e-learning products, or the Elements products, Photoshop Elements and Premiere Elements. Again, you need your full FTE, so you've got to cover the whole site for the bundles, but you can add the e-learning tools on top of the creative apps. So here's the lineup. So you get all of this technology in your subscription, and you've got those optional bundles at the bottom. Again, just a quick word about Edge and Muse. Muse there doesn't quite work in the classroom environment yet. It is in engineering to be fixed, but that is an important point. So I know everybody's desperate to get their hands on Muse. It's a really easy to use web design tool, drag and drop, very popular with web designers. You don't need to code, but with the changes in the national curriculum, you can view the code as part of Muse. So really useful teaching for teaching purposes. So keep that in mind. Muse not quite working yet, but keep your ears to the ground. We'll have a fix for that shortly in the lab environment. So this is the news for schools. You can get all of these apps. You need to work out your FTE count. And then once you've worked out the FTE count, there are 3 price tiers that you can sign under. So we're really trying to target the high school, the secondary market. So 70 FTEs and above, you'll get tier 2 pricing, and tier 3 for 300 FTEs and above. Obviously there aren't many schools with 300 FTEs, but this is a program that we target to academy sponsors, free school chains, local authorities. So if there is a group that your school is part of, a federation or a trust of some description, then there is an incentive for you to collaborate together, aggregate your requirements to get the tier 3 price. However, if you don't belong to a chain or you're not in a group of any type, the price point at tier 2's come down significantly to allow you to access this program. If you're unsure about whether or not you've got a group that qualifies for tier 3, again, Luke can help you. But my biggest piece of advice for schools is to really check into this FTE count, because it does make a big difference to your overall subscription. So when you're calculating your FTE, full-time teachers classed as 1 FTE. If they work less than 200 hours a year, then they would be classed as a part-time teacher, and they will be 1/3 of an FTE. Then you need to calculate the full-time staff, and the important thing here is we exclude non-knowledge workers, so catering, security, gardening, anybody that's not accessing the network you can remove from the FTE count. And any member of staff that works 200 hours a year or less will be classed as part-time staff and half an FTE. And here's probably the biggest piece of information around the FTE calculation. Adobe does not include teaching assistants in our FTE counts. So if you've got teaching assistants, I believe there's one in every classroom and in every secondary school and primary school pretty much. Take them out of your FTE count and that'll help drive your cost point down as well. So once you've figured out your FTE, and again Luke and his colleagues can help you with that, that will help you then determine which price tier you sit under. It might be that if you've 68, 65 FTEs that you overestimate your FTE count and declare 70 or more FTEs to access that better pricing. Okay, so this is just some estimated costs for you. Luke can provide you with more accurate data on the pricing, but as you can see, there's a real incentive to drive the volume. So if you can join a group of some type, then Tier 3 is a quite significant saving. But really we're targeting the average school price, average high school price of around $3,000 per annum for all of Adobe's apps, the design apps, the web apps, the video apps, special effects tools, all the latest versions of the apps. So around $3K per annum per school. And if you reflect back on the VIP program, you can see very quickly that if you're ordering 25, 30 devices, that this program starts to look quite attractive. So these are ex-VAT, they're annual costs. You can prorate again, so you can add FTEs as they join the school. But they are street prices, and Luke can provide you more accurate costs than I can on this. Okay, so that's schools. I want to talk about deployment. So this is relevant to everybody now. And I'll whiz through these slides because we are running out of time. So I won't take much longer. Deployment for Creative Cloud applications is different for named users and devices. So I'm not going to talk about how you deploy named users because it's really easy. So if you've got a named user license, as the administrator of your VIP agreement, you can send that user an email inviting them to join your VIP agreement and download the Creative Cloud apps to their local machine. So you will give them their own Adobe ID, they'll sign in, download the apps, and they'll work under your agreement. You can take that seat away, you can upgrade that seat, but you will have control of that through something called the Creative Cloud Admin Console. All of this you'll get in an email when you sign your VIP, and if you want someone to talk you through it, Bytes can do that. It's very straightforward. So named user licensing is deployed through the console, very simple to administer. Device-based licensing, because we're not accessing the cloud services and using Adobe IDs, has a very different deployment method. And this is also applicable to schools on the EEA program. So the first thing to say is that as of this week, we have updated the Creative Cloud Packager, which is the technology used to package device-based licensing, and hopefully now this fixes the issue of having to remove Adobe apps from your systems before you deploy the new Creative Cloud applications. My advice, I was on a call last night with a large university and one of our engineers, and his advice is that when you're building the package from your admin machine, make sure you've no Adobe products running on that machine. It's easier that way, you get into less problems. So when you create a package, our advice is to have a clean build, use an admin system, and build the Adobe package from there, and I'll show you how all this works. So the first thing is going back to step one. Luke will send you an invitation to enroll on the VIP program. That then gives you the option to add seats for named users, But then if you want to order devices, you place a PO for the device-based licensing on Bytes. Bytes places that on Adobe, and then you'll see within Adobe Licensing Web Service, LWS, you'll see your license entitlements and the packager tool. So you would download the Creative Packager tool to that clean admin system, and you would have your serial numbers in LWS, and you're ready to deploy those device-based licenses out to your users. And what you can do is download the MSI or the Apple file to a USB drive or key, so you can pass that to a user and they can activate the software locally if you want to do it that way. Or of course you can package this up and use Microsoft's tools, Apple's tools, to deploy this to machines using things like SCCM. So these are the 4 steps, and where we're going to jump in here is the actual packaging tool. So I'll whiz through this. When you go into the Creative Cloud Packager, you get an option for Windows and Mac. So obviously you click the package you want to create, either Windows or Mac. And once you've done that, it will launch the Creative Cloud Packager onto your admin system and bring up the EULA, which you accept after you've read it all, of course. Once you've accepted that, you'll see 5 different packaging options. So for us, for education and schools in particular, there's only a couple of these you need to be aware of. So if you're deploying VIP device-based licenses, charities or schools, higher or further ed, you would select Creative Cloud for Education. If you're deploying the EEA, you would select the option down there at the bottom, the 4th one down, Education Enterprise Agreement. So very easy, you've got a choice of 2, either VIP, Creative Cloud for Education, or if you're a school, EEA. Once you've done that, create package. And the neat thing about the packager is you can create different package names. So if you've got a photography course and you want to package a particular set of tools for that particular part of the campus or charity, then you can create a photography package. But in effect, you give the package a name, select device-based license, and then save it to wherever you're choosing to save the packager to. So clean system is the recommendation for that. Select device licensing we've covered. It will then build the package. You'll get the option to select the particular tools. When you log in, you'll see all the apps you're entitled to. You'll see how many devices you're permitted to deploy, and you can select and build your apps. So in this case, we've built a pool including Photoshop and Illustrator. You can see the complete set there as well at the top, which there's 2 devices there to deploy. This is important, so click for additional options, because as you can see your package configuration change, because you do need to make sure that you've unchecked this box here, disable Adobe Creative Cloud desktop application. Make sure that is not selected, and that way you'll run into less issues with the packaging tool. Again, all of this information is on links that I'll share with Luke after the webinar, and we'll distribute the slides to you so you can watch the tutorials. Will be far more eloquent at this than I am. Okay, so once you've selected your applications and you've built your package, it's ready to deploy. And just whip through here quickly. You get to this part of the program, and then you'll see the package, and if you created an MSI, you'll see that MSI within the folder on the desktop there, and you can then start pushing that out using your enterprise deployment tools. Okay, there may be exceptions and There may be issues with proxy settings, for example. Again, this is all in my presentation, and you'll see a copy of that. So you need to make sure that none of these issues are prevalent before you build your package. And you do, if you are buying the complete set of apps, need to deploy Acrobat first in that Windows environment. That's an important point. If you've got lots of exceptions, unique installation requirements, we do have a number of other command line tools that help you get around those issues. So these are just some of the technologies that we've built that will help you. One of the important ones is we just announced APT here, which allows you to re-serialize an existing installation, so you don't have to remove the software anymore. You can use the APT tool just to re-serialize that when you come to renew your agreement, and save you deinstalling. So lots of information there. And my advice, because we're on version 1.6, version 1.7 is due out next week, and that will address a couple of issues around 32-bit deployments for a couple of our recently launched applications. Here's the blog. I encourage you to follow the blog. Make sure you're up to date and follow the tutorials before you deploy anything, and it'll go smoothly. You won't run into any issues. Here are all the resources. I know there's a lot there, but hopefully that overview I've given you just helps you understand that when you're deploying those new device-based licenses or the EEA, there is a very customized deployment method for it. And that is the end of my slide deck.
So thank you so much, Matt, for today.